Welcome back to episode 107 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
What's up?
And we're a group of Ottawa-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Hopefully.
Man,
we were way off.
We're so off.
Bit of a miss.
Huge whiff on the predictions.
This doesn't happen often on this show, but man, were we wrong.
Yeah.
If you listen to last week's episode, we did a little prediction for the top 8 of the Pro Tour, and we slept on red, white, aggro. And turns out that's all the top 8 was.
Yeah. A lot of red, white decks, 6 of them. That's a lot.
Yeah. Which, to just looking at those decks on its face, you would think, man, this format's rough. But really, if you just look a little further to all the decks that performed well in Standard, it's really not the issue at all. Most of these decks got in based off their limited records.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence. It's like you were saying before the show, like Mark Jacobson just missed with blue-black. Like there could have been a blue-black, Doom Whisper dive down deck in the top 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
why would I look further into the results when I can just have a sensational opinion based on the headline?
yeah, got to ban Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah. Ban Frenzy.
Because it was in the sideboard.
Skymarch Aspirin.
Yeah, it was in the sideboard. Should have been a rare. Skymarch.
Yeah, just ban 1-drops. They're too quick.
Yeah, Healer Hawk overall.
Yeah, Hero Hawks won a Pro Tour, guys, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It won a Pro Tour both by winning in Limited and in Constructed.
Man, this card might be more powerful
That's
than
one of the
Scrounger.
things, like, that's how you know a card is powerful, if it's powerful across multiple formats.
Yeah. Limited All-Star.
Yeah.
Man, what are we going to do?
I actually hate that. I said this in the pre-show. I hate how good it is in draft.
Healer's Hawk?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's nothing interesting to do about that.
Just playing honest, fair Magic, man. Just casting 1/1s for 1 and attacking.
Yeah, because creatures all suck so badly. They're like, you're going to die in that time to that thing,
Yeah.
And then also if it gets mentored, you just lose. I don't know. That's just miserable. Draft format is so shitty.
Well, we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about Standard. I guess a lot of people did see this deck coming. I mean, it 8-0'd the Mox the weekend before.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of people brought it to the Pro Tour. I think it was the second most played deck, right?
Yeah. Phil tried to yell at us for weeks. It was good, but I just ignore him.
Benson was yelling at us, too.
Yeah, I just ignore him. The thing is, they got to hit sometime,
Yeah.
right? It's like Benson's weird whack vine deck, right? It's like those are the decks he's always like, these are nuts. And then the one time he is right and doesn't
He has a very good sense of what people are going to be trying. And then I think it's hit or miss on if it's going to be good. Because he knew about Hollow One before it came out. And he knew about Whackvine before it came out. And he knew about White Weenie before it got popular. He always knows about these things, but he just thinks they're all good.
Yeah. Whereas, yeah.
I guess Whackvine was the only one in that list that wasn't.
8-0ing Mox is
We
pretty
needed a top 8
reasonable.
at a GP the other weekend.
Yeah. Never mind me.
Scoreboard, Cam.
But, yeah, I didn't really see red, white aggro. I thought mono red would show up more.
I mean, Mono Red was the 4th most played deck.
Yeah. I thought it'd be the most, almost.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you combine red, white aggro with Boros aggro and White Weenie, it's still not the most played deck. Golgari still wins that one.
It's really annoying how WotC makes these somewhat arbitrary distinctions within decks that are basically the same archetype.
Yeah, I don't really know what the difference is between red, white aggro and Boros aggro, but who knows?
only coverage team.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe playing cards with Boros in their name is the difference. Maybe those decks have a Boros challenger.
The red, white aggro decks have all the cards are either red cards or white cards, but Boros aggro has cards that are red, white. They've got gold cards.
Yeah, it's 2 Boros challengers.
Yeah, I guess maybe if you have an Aurelia in your main deck, then you're Boros aggro. But if you don't, then you're red, white aggro. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, this makes perfect
this
sense.
is just a guess. Who knows? But yeah, still a lot. It's funny, Yeah, biggest percentage of the field by a lot too. 22% is a lot.
Is Golgari, yeah.
Yeah, for green black and 0 copies, but 0 copies in the top 8 isn't really, like you said, indicative of anything because there's still a bunch, there's a heap of them with 8 wins.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 decks at 8 wins.
And then, or 7 was it?
And then there's a crap ton at 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tons of 7 win green black. And most of the people in top 8 playing red, white, or Boros also had 7 wins. They just had better limited records.
Yep.
So just a little bit of difference in luck. Top 8 could have been all green black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been really interesting to see what happens if those 6 rounds of limited were just 6 more rounds of standard.
Well, if you're bringing red, white in standard to the Pro Tour, you're going to be favored in limited because you're already in the correct mindset to draft Boros.
Okay.
And transitioning between trying to force Boros and playing green, black in standard, while I'm sure the pros are amazing players and they're well practiced in switching archetypes, it's still something you got to pay attention to. And it's navigating these sort of complexities that makes the Pro Tour the most prestigious tournament of the year.
Yeah, you're right. I can't argue with that.
This is like something so satisfying about top cards. Number 1, Adonto Vanguard.
Number 2, History of Benalia.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
It's because those 2 cards go across 2 archetypes, right, that were played at this PT, or 3, actually, because they go into the Angels deck, the Boros aggro decks, but also in Celestia tokens.
And the red, white aggro decks.
Right.
Yeah. And the white weenie decks.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, that's part of it. But even then, it's only in 30% of decks. Do you remember when Standard was bad?
When it was scrap heap in 60%?
60 to 80% of decks. You know what I mean?
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. You're looking just even from percentages, it's a lot healthier than, it's not that bad. Because at first, on Saturday when we were at our friend's place having some drinks there, and you asked, like, oh, did you see the top 8? And I just finished a competition, so I hadn't. And you're like, oh, it's Graham. And I was like, oh, no, like, is Standard ruined? And it's like, no, not really. It's just how it worked out, right? Whatever. Like, the metagame itself still, like, looking through the sort of top-performing decks, the metagame's still completely wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of different things you can still be doing in Standard. And now I'm pretty interested to see what happens at the GP this weekend in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. And also of note, and we'll probably talk about this a bit more later, but like the top 8 was very much red-white and the top 32 was sort of diverse, but the red-white deck, like, it's not like you can take measures against it. Like, it looked foolish on camera a couple times. Like, it just gets wrecked by Chainwhirler. If you want to beat this deck, you can. It's not kind of oppressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how main decks and sideboards adjust. And yeah, Golgari's still largest part of the metagame. Didn't have the best conversion rate out of everything, but still, I mean, it was 22.2% of day 1 and 22% of day 2, so it's still a huge part of the
solid mid-range deck.
Yeah. But so going into that top 8, that Jeskai deck, though, was pretty well positioned, and he just got smashed.
Yeah, I
in the
didn't
quarterfinals.
actually get a chance to watch much of the coverage yet. I was, busy flying across the continent. Did he lose in the quarters or semis?
He lost in the quarters.
In the quarters?
Yeah.
Right.
All the red, white, and Boros decks won. It was, yeah.
Seeing Drake's lose, not surprising at all.
Oh, no. He didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, just a miserable matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Good everywhere else. Watched on. I don't know if you saw the match on coverage where he beat Ben Stark, or not Ben Stark. Ari Lax. He
no.
He went to 1. Like, the Celestia tokens deck just had not enough pressure, and Like the same with green black. You know what I mean? They just don't have enough pressure, and they just kept dying, whatever. But I don't think the Drake's deck has a good white weenie matchup. But the Jeskai deck probably did.
Oh, for sure.
And he just got rolled.
Yeah.
Like it was just unlucky. But I think the Jeskai control deck's actually really well positioned versus them as well. I agree. I think it was unusual that, you know what I mean? That deck could have just won the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Jeskai at this tournament, it was, the fifth most played deck? 11% of the metagame. I think we see this go up a little bit going forward. Because, I mean, how do you guys approach this Boros deck? Like, what are we doing to fight it?
I mean, just like sweepers are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's really game one. You just need to Golden Demise them, or like Golden Demise main is also probably the reason that, you know, the blue-black decks were able to do well. Because it stops the Danto's Vanguard and everything else, right? Like, sweepers are fine, but you need to be able to kill them too, right? But the Jeskai deck and the Jeskai deck that top aided has 3 Crackling Drakes, so it can actually turn the corner. And the blue-black deck has Doom Whisperers, right? So they can turn the corner pretty quickly as well. So that's all you need is like sweeper into threat.
Yeah.
And you can beat them. Post-board, it becomes harder because of the Experimental Frenzy. That card's so obnoxious. Like, you just are going to lose that card.
That card's why you need some sort of efficient threat that you can start clocking them back with, because you can't give them too many frenzy turns.
Like, game one, I think you can win if you just draw sweeper. Like, they're not super resilient.
Yeah, they kind of got to dump their hand. And
yeah, the problem is that, like, a Pride Mate will just probably instantly be out of range. But, you know, presumably you build your deck to have answers to things that your sweepers don't pick up. But, yeah, Loxodon is, I don't know. It's kind of a blessing and a curse because you want to turn off from getting smashed. But then also, if you don't have a way to kill everything, you're just going to lose. But, yeah, just sweepers plus some sort of form of pressure is, I think, enough to beat them. Like, you can definitely beat them. It's not like the deck is just unbeatable. Like, Deafening Clarion's still just unreal, right?
Yeah.
Deafening Clarion and then Lava Coil, though, locks it on for cleanup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and as we can see from, like, the most played cards, Adano Vanguard's still, like, the most important.
Yeah. Well, that's how they beat Jeskai.
Yeah.
Right? The black decks don't care as much because, like, they all have Moment of Craving and they have fungal infections in the board, which was, like,
the black control decks, yeah.
Yeah.
Golgari can even start playing more if they're worried about this deck. Just cravings and fungals.
Yeah, and fungal infection actually showed up quite a bit on the weekend in sideboards. Looking pretty good. Just getting people.
Do you think, coming from the side of Golgari, do you think you want to be playing Golden Demise or Ritual of Sit?
Both are kind of bad for you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably...
I would just probably play Moment of Cravings, to be honest.
Yeah.
And hope that's enough. Because I don't think it is.
You probably want to lean on... Because you're just trying to buy time so that you can trade, and then, like, you also have Fine Finality in your deck as well, right? So you probably don't need Golden Demise, because, like, what you're really worried about is those, like, middle turns where they have a Benelish Marshal or after they locks it on you, and, like, you need to deal with those things. The little stuff you can just pick off with fungals and moments. So, yeah, I don't know.
Or just, like, play a Wild Growth Walker and get it out of range.
Yeah, and Ritual kills a lot of your own stuff, which you need to block to trade later. So...
like, a lot of the lists don't play as many Wild Growth Walkers. Like, they could just go back to playing more.
Well, most decks they've all pretty much been playing 4 in the 75 now.
Yeah, I meant main.
Main, yeah. Go back to that.
Yeah, who could Pride Mate better?
Yeah. So do you think Golgari is well positioned versus this deck?
No. Not at all. Not when they can have 16 power on turn 3 and you have a Merfolk Branch Walker because you were on the draw. Like, that just, you know what I mean? They just go 1-drop, 1-drop, 2-drop, 1-drop, locks it on. Right?
Yeah, their good starts are so much faster than your best starts could ever hope to be.
And then if you're on the draw, that's it.
Yeah, you can cast, like, a removal spell next turn.
Yeah. And it's so easy for them to just go 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop. Pride Mate 1-drop locks it on. You know, you just lose.
Yeah.
Like, they just all 1-drops. You know, it's not unreasonable for that. You know,
I guess if you just have no hope of ever beating that start, then you have to play Golden Demise, because their 1-drops are going to have 2 power or 2 toughness at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to, because you didn't get hit that turn because they convoked. You just need to have a turn 3 that rasts that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'm probably wrong. Maybe you just need Golden Demise for that reason.
Maybe you just give up and you just can't win that start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, giving up also respectable.
Like, I mean, in the sense that you're just accepting that you're not beating the best starts out of that deck, because the matchup is fine otherwise. Probably if they don't truck you, then
that's like a common. People like worry too much about like corner cases that they have no chance against, and then they dilute their other game plans, and they end up losing more games than they would have if they just accept those beats.
Yeah, so I don't know if like it's worth boarding in like 2 Golden Demise on the hope that you have it, and they had a nut and they nut drew you. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, because what happens when they just go like Healer Hawk and you're like, and you don't have a thing for it, and then they play Pride Mate and hit it, and then now they have a 3/3 and a Hawk.
Yeah, true.
And you're just like, oh.
And I guess
or they just kill you with heroic reinforcements on 4, and you never got a chance.
Yeah. And that like nut start from them needs those, like, they need all their creatures to convoke the Loxodon. So if you're not bringing Golden Demise, and instead of casting a Branch Walker, you cast a Fungal Infection or a Moment of Craving, now they can't quite do as much.
Exactly.
So
like, it's probably better to just Fungal or Moment of Craving. Yeah. Moment of Craving's been really important this entire time in the metagame. I'm surprised it's not in sort of sideboards of green-black lists, just because its ability to deal with Adonto's Vanguard and other annoying cards.
It's also just like, I don't know, that card, every time I play it, it's so powerful just delaying the game a turn.
Yeah.
So that my cards can catch up with the aggro decks.
Yeah, and once you get to Find Finality, right, it's tough to lose.
Yeah.
Like, I found that, it can be a hard matchup if they just get enough to Find Finality you. I mean, they're playing way more powerful cards. You can't really do anything once they get to that point. They just start gaining life. Like off a Wild Growth Walker, you lose.
Yeah, like from the green-black side, like I've been playing a lot since the Pro Tour happened, and I found really the only card I care about out of their deck is Frenzy out of the board.
Yeah, it's
the only card you lose.
You can't beat that card.
Yeah.
But if you're playing Night of Autumn, like if you're playing an Abzan version of green-black.
Yeah, and if you're not
fine.
playing, if you're playing straight green-black, I think you're crazy to not be playing Bronte Boy anywhere in your 75 as well.
Yeah, Brontodon's really good. I know some people playing it main recently.
Yeah.
Like 3 main.
It gets in the way of a lot of these white creatures.
Yeah, it's just a huge body.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brontodon's pretty good. And then you still have like Vivian's to kill Frenzy and other things too.
Yeah.
They're all just main boardable hate.
Like a Wild Growth Walker is pretty tough to beat through in the early turns. So I actually do think green-black is sort of well positioned versus these decks and does have answers. They just need probably a few tweaks.
Yeah, they just have to adjust. I don't think green-black's going anywhere. It's just going to change how it works.
Exactly. But, from these differences in the top 8 between, Dazani playing Goblin, what is it? Goblin makes a 1/1.
Instigator.
Instigator?
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Is Instigator the one that...
The 2-mana 1/1?
Motivator is the one that gives haste. It's Goblin Instigator. You're
Yeah,
right.
Goblin Instigator.
Boros Challenger, Aurelia. And then we have decks that are playing Heroic Reinforcements main and decks that aren't.
Yeah. Dazani's playing 3 more land than everyone too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a little bigger, because he has more 4-drops in his main deck, right?
4s, yeah.
So do you think we're gonna kind of settle in on the best way to build this deck? Do you have any ideas of what is the best way?
I don't think it's going to settle in. I think it's going to be this, like, there's all these various ways and flavors you can build it, and they all are going to require slightly different hate, or they're all going to be better against different types of hate. And so
we're gonna be in a Golgari situation where there's just gonna be multiple different...
It's just going to be like, what hate cards or what sideboard strategies do you think the other decks will be doing against you this week? And then you play the version of red-white that kind of sidesteps that. And all of them being viable and all of them being, equally competitive just allows sort of this mind game to happen. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. It's like the 2 green-black decks that you have up that are just radically different with the same record.
Yeah, we'll break down a few different lists a bit later. But yeah, I was just wondering because, LSV has the Vanguard Primate package.
Yeah, that's what CFB played, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have these heroic reinforcement stacks, and then you have just straight Boros. I don't know, what do you think is the best approach going into this weekend? Because, Adam, you said you've played a bunch of these different versions.
So I ended up just settling on combining them. So I just ended up playing the Leonid Vanguard Primate version, but with Loxodons as well. So I can just go bigger, so I can beat mirrors and just have huge idiots. It's worse versus control decks or slower decks, but I have 4 experimental frenzy in the sideboard, so you never lose.
You're open just to get them that way.
Yeah, and you just don't lose. But I don't know what it's best. Like, honestly, I was saying this in the pre-show. We played a bunch of leagues with, me and a few people played a bunch of leagues with these decks, and we 5-0'd everyone, so I don't.
So you're saying as long as you're playing red and white cards.
Yeah, it just kept winning anyway. But I will say that we won every match on the back of Experimental Frenzy out of the board. Every single match. Every single one. It doesn't matter what the matchup was. Versus control, mid-range, or aggro. We brought in maybe not all 4 every time, or there were some lists we had that just played 3. But maybe not all of them every time. But we brought in some in every single matchup. Like in the aggro matchups, I brought in 1 or 2 maybe. And cut heroic reinforcement.
Okay.
When I was playing Dizani's version, I brought in some experimental frenzies over heroic. If I was on the play and draw, actually, I think both. The logic being that the mirror is just about stats.
Yeah.
It's just about playing guys and stats. And even though you're taking a turn 4 off to play frenzy, it's not really going to be your turn 4 though. It's just, you know what I mean? That's just not how it's going to work out. But you take a turn off. Not really though, because if it's your 5th or 6th turn, you're just also going to play 2 1-drops off the top of your deck. And then from there you win.
So if Frenzy's giving you a leg up in the mirror with how well Boros did this weekend, going into Milwaukee, do you think Frenzy should be more of a main deck card now so you can give yourself that advantage? Or do you think it's still fine in the sideboard?
I think probably main, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Me and Lil Benny both think, Ben Moore and I both think that it should be main. And we both said that this week, if we were going to play matches, we would play with it main. Just play the White Weenie deck with Experimental Frenzy's main. Just because the card is so absurd, and the deck is so well positioned to take advantage of it. The fact that your deck is mostly 1-drops, you just refill instantly. Green-black can't really beat it. I mean, if they're going to take a turn off to Vivian Reed minus, sure.
So in the versions playing heroic reinforcements, you think the advantage you gain from Frenzy is probably better than the burst damage you can get from reinforcements?
Probably not. I'd probably have to cut something else.
Okay.
You probably have to cut Aurelia. I don't think you can cut heroic reinforcements if you're playing that version. Only because heroic reinforcements is plus history finale is a wombo combo.
That is a combo.
Giving the second night haste and making a 3/3 on the 4th turn is just so much damage. Heroic reinforcements is so bursty. It also in the mirror is pretty good in that sense, I guess. That they can be incentivized to block because of that turn. Because then the follow-up turn is also the history turn popping.
Yeah.
Right? So your follow-up is just huge swing, or your initial is huge swing off heroic reinforcements into another huge swing. Whereas the Loxodon version has to tap their guys that turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So heroic might be better in the mirror. I don't know though. I have no idea. I feel like it doesn't matter. It's just who draws a bunch of guys and stats and who's on the. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That seems like a cop-out answer, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to matter. It's just who plays more bodies and stats. I haven't seen a mirror breaker. You know what I mean? Other than the settle the wreckage from Luis in the top 8, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, was there anything that was oh my God, how do they ever beat this card in the mirror? There was nothing, right?
Yeah. It's all just play draw dependent. Who has a better, more aggressive draw?
Even Andrew Ellenbogen in the finals played around settle.
Yeah.
He played it. He made it so he wouldn't lose the settle. So I just don't know. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's some card in the mirror that someone can't beat. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think the deck's, like, unbeatable. I'm just saying in the mirror, right? Like, what's the... Because, like, in the green-black, there are certain things that we know, like, matter in the mirror, right? Just, like, keeping Planeswalkers alive.
Yeah, your Planeswalkers, your Contempts.
Right. Like, having access to Vraska's Contempt, Planeswalkers, and to some extent as well, Carnage Tyrants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, to just gum up the board to protect your Planeswalkers.
Yeah, exactly. And just be huge,
yeah,
you know, versus, like, 3/2 Branchwalkers, like, just some huge guy that they can't Chupacabra, right? Yeah. So, we know what cards matter in the green-black mirror. I'm not entirely sure. Like, Pridemate matters. Loxodon matters. And they matter just because of their stats.
Yeah.
Were any of them playing Lyras anywhere in their 75, or is that too slow?
God, no. They can't
cost too much mana.
Yeah,
most of these
I
decks
thought it might be too expensive, but
they also just don't need to post-board. Like, their plan doesn't need to diversify because they just play Experimental Frenzy. They get Wrath, they just replay 5 guys.
That's true. I was just thinking for the mirror, right? Because it...
Yeah. A Benelish Marshal matters, obviously, in the mirror.
Lets you attack and pulls you out of range.
Benelish Marshal's really good in the mirror.
History of Analia. Pride of Conquerors.
Yeah, Pride of Conquerors is a huge deal in the mirror. But they're all playing it, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
You're all just sort of like... It's all just more stats. So, like, whatever gives you more stats is how you win the mirror, right?
Man, why don't we just Cosmotronic Wave the mirror?
Because none of their guys are 1/1s.
It doesn't matter. We kill them.
Yeah.
They can't block.
That's the mirror breaker.
Like, Settle did seem good, obviously, but do you really... How many can you really afford if the matchup is about stats? Can you... I think 1 is fine, but that's it.
Yeah.
You ever draw the second copy, you lose. It's like... It's like in limited, you know... Let's say you're a Boros deck, right? Would you play 3 Demotions and, like, plus your combat tricks and whatever else you had?
That's a lot of Demotions. That's
Right.
probably too many.
Exactly, because, like...
They'll just start attacking you and you'll die.
Exactly, because
no
you're playing
pressure.
3 Demotions. But Demotion is an insane card.
Yeah.
But it drops off when you have more than 1 or 2, right? Same with Settle. It's the same thing in the kind of aggro mirror. Like, same kind of concept that it loses value the more copies you have of them. And so, I don't know. I think it's just whatever stats. That's why I said I did like a hybrid where I added a Johnny's Pridemate plus Loxodon. I was like, I just want more stats in the mirror.
What do we want? More stats.
When do we want it? More stats. That's the only thing that mattered. So unless I'm missing something. But I played a lot of matches with it and it was just, all right, I got this 12-12 Pridemate because the board's all started to start chipping in.
To that end, is a Johnny too expensive to main? They were playing in the sideboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, so I boarded it in all the mirrors and it was just insane to the point that it made me think, well, maybe this is just better. But I think if that's the case, if you're playing a Johnny, you also kind of maybe want to play more Hunted Witness. Just because you're guaranteed to have bodies around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you replace, like if you use the sort of traditional logic of you beat mirrors by going a step slower and you replace your Aurelias or your Heroic Resource and something with a Johnny's, they're going to be incentivized to attack into your Johnny, which you get some good blocks. Johnny will take, 4 or 5, whatever. But you'll have good blocks because of the stats. And then, you just keep pumping things up and playing more. Eventually, you're going to outclass their board.
Yeah, that's part of it. Obviously, like, save all your tribunals for the cards that are going to kill you, like Marshall and Loxodon. But other than that, I think you definitely board in Lava. There are lists that play Lava Coil. I think you board that in, obviously, in the mirror. Like in the sideboard. Like, I'm pretty sure, maybe not actually. Are there some that play it?
Like 1 copy. Most of them are playing Baffling End.
Yeah, either one. They're both good.
Yeah.
Baffling End's easier to cast, yeah. So I would board those in the mirror. Yeah, he's playing 3.
Yeah, well, Dazani's on Boros aggro, not red-white, so he's more heavy red.
Yeah.
So he can play Lava Coil.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's playing like the 4 Legion War Boss in the board.
I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of variations in this deck, and I think it's cool that, there's more than, we have Golgari, we have red-white, that they're the same, but they're not.
Yeah,
There's just tons of different ways you can take that deck, and no one really knows which is the best way. And there probably just isn't a best way.
No, probably not. And that's fine. And it probably just changes. And that's what you would expect and want.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, yeah, I would deeply consider playing the version with Leonid Vanguard, though, over anything. And a Pride Mate. I just think because if the board's going to stall, then you just sit there.
Yeah.
And you put a counter on your Pride Mate every turn because of Vanguard. And you just wait.
Make a huge dude.
Yeah. You know, maybe you draw a couple. Maybe you have a Healer's Hawk and it gets to attack in the air and keep pumping that Pride Mate. So I think that's, yeah. If I were to pick a version, that's what I would pick.
Mm-hmm.
Sideboarding is pretty easy with the deck too, which is nice.
Why is that?
Because it's usually pretty clear what you want in matchups because you have Pride of Conqueror's main, and you can kind of go, well, this doesn't matter against this Jeskai deck, so
yeah.
Or maybe it does because it gets me out of sweeper range. But no, I mean the likelihood you have the City's Blessing to get out with a bunch of 2/2s is not, you know what I mean. But so it's okay, this card's not good here. Just board these out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's easy to shave numbers and then just bring in, Experimental Frenzy for control, Tocatli Honor Guards if you have them in your sideboard for green-black. Like, it's pretty obvious what comes in and out, so that helps.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to, sideboard. It's obvious what your game plan should be, to me at least, but deck's actually pretty sweet. You have some really busted starts. Played a lot of it over the last couple days just to... You know what I mean? I just wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking at conversion rates right here for the decks from day 1 to day 2, if we kind of ignore all the 100% ones that were...
Yeah, 1 or 2 copies of the entire Pro Tour.
Yeah. The only decks with 100% conversion rates were 4 decks that had 1 copy in day 1. But everything else... I think the highest conversion rate past that is Esper Control. 4 out of 5 copies making day 2. Surprised to see that?
I'm not. It's a deck that just plays a bunch of Moment of Craving Ritual. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're probably playing Golden Demise, like Teferi. Like, they can kill a Dante's Vanguard.
Isn't that what I said in the last episode? Is that I thought, like, an Esper, I thought there would be 2 control in the top 8. One of them maybe Esper, because it has these black removal spells and a good control matchup.
Yeah, you did say that.
I was not right, but some people agreed with me.
I'm going to try and find... So the best Esper deck was 7 wins. 4 Golden Demise main deck.
Yeah, like this has to be it.
There
and
it
2
is.
settles and contemps.
4 seal away.
Right. Like,
yeah, that's it.
That's what I mean. Like, they just have... Esper's just a color combination that has a lot of ways to answer, what's going on.
They can pick what they don't want to lose to and not lose to it.
Man, playing against this deck, playing Boros, you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah, this actually probably has a good matchup.
Yeah.
It's got 4 seal away for Drakes, too. This probably has a good Drakes matchup. The control decks actually have good Drakes matchups.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not as much for Jeskai control because of Clarion's kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But the Grixis and Esper decks actually have a very good Drakes matchup. Because game 1, you just buy time. You just Moment of Craving stuff, just kill Phoenix over and over. Who cares? They just have to keep spinning their wheels, and you just buy enough time to eventually Vraska's contempt them all out of the game.
Yeah.
And then they can't, you know what I mean? And then they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So control matchups, and they don't have counter magic game 1, right? So yeah, control decks actually have a pretty good Drakes matchup, a medium to bad green-black matchup. It seems like it should be good. Like should a control deck beating up on a mid-range deck, but that is not what happens.
No. You counter their dudes, and then they just pick them back up, and then you just grind you out.
They just grind you into the dirt.
Yeah.
It seems like, because they're clunky, right, and like a slow, dumb mid-range deck, that you should just be able to smash them, but that's just not how it plays out.
No.
In my experience at all. I don't know if it's the same for you, but you just grind them out when you play in green-black, right?
Yeah.
Every time I play control, I'm like, ugh, when I get paired versus, especially with Jeskai or Esper, I'm like, ugh, this is a problem. It's better with Grixis because you have Bolus that helps, like just getting their hand.
I mean, if they put a Carnage Tyrant on the board, you're just like...
Yeah. Well, this guy's 3 Eldest Reborn.
Yeah, but
that
I mean,
helps.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get it.
Yeah. Well, and settles. This guy actually has a good, like he has 5 answers to a Carnage Tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the settles are nice. But it's still, like the game
Still not easy.
Going to be hard for Esper unless it's like counter something, kill something, Chromium on 7, hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Chromium's not there in time, it's going to be a close one.
I mean, the clunkiness of this deck's mana too can't be overlooked either.
3 Evolving Wilds.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, you're losing some games to your mana base just being slow.
Yeah, you're playing Evolving Wilds.
Yeah.
Yeah, choosing to run Contempt and Settle and Sinister Sabotage kind of necessitates the Evolving Wilds, but then
Yeah, hard times. But
And you have double black Golden Demise on 3.
yeah.
Like this deck's mana is just so bad.
Next format though, here we go.
I wouldn't. Yeah. That's what Patrick Sullivan was saying. He thought that once the mana was good, it was just obviously going to be an Esper blue-white format. Like just dominated by these cards. By these cards that are in this list. They just have good mana.
Yeah.
They can just cast Sinister, Sabotage, Settle, and Contempt, no problem.
Like I wonder how many of his 3 losses were just
To mana.
missing a color or a turn behind because of Evolving Wilds and, super close.
I just think it's a matter of time before Esper controls the best deck. Or, you know what I mean? Like something similar to this. Unless something radically different happens. Wouldn't be surprised at all because the cards in this deck are all just busted. Like, I don't know. But yeah, this is probably just because he has this has to have a decent white weenie matchup, right? Game 1? You have 4 Golden Demise.
Yeah.
This matchup just has to be good game 1.
Yeah. I can't imagine you having a hard time beating that deck.
Yeah. And 4 Seal Away. 4 Seal Away is a good choice for this tournament.
Yep. Agree.
Hoof.
Vanguard, Drakes, gets everything.
Yeah.
Everything you'd ever want it to get.
Yeah. Man, there was a while there where it felt like Seal Away was just not good.
Yeah, it's true. But,
because green black was everywhere, and if they want to just get whatever's under it back, they can.
And I mean, like, let's not be kidding. Green black is still everywhere in this tournament.
For sure. But I mean, it's nice that it's diverse enough that Seal Away can see some play, as opposed to green black is so present that you just can't play these random enchantments because they get tagged off.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they blow up a Seal Away and your Eldest Reborn sticks around.
But yeah, so past that, having the best conversion rate, White Weenie at 75%, Selesnya tokens at 77%.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah.
But I guess if the red-white deck is popular, it's not. If it was just like green-black and other decks, I would be more surprised. Like if it was the meta 2 weeks ago, then I would be, you know what I mean? I'd be surprised, but...
Yeah, I mean, like the 2 best performing Selesnya decks at 8-2 are the exact same 75.
Maining a Johnny's.
Yeah, maining a Johnny's. You have 4 Vanguards, Tristani, Amara, Loxodon, 4 March, 4 Saproling Migration, 4 Benalia. Like,
3 Legions Landing.
Yeah.
Come on. This guy's got to grow up.
Yeah, I mean...
But yeah, Johnny seems good because you make a bunch of lifelink guys in this deck, right? There's a lot of lifelink 1/1 tokens that versus the red-white aggro decks, you can just put some stats on those guys.
The OG mentor creature.
Speaking of stats, I love the sideboard plan of 4 Nullhide Ferox. Like that's a plan. I love it.
Also, Crawl Harpooner.
Yeah.
Nice. Healer's Hawk.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like this deck looks pretty tight to me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I love the Immortal Sun Vivian Reed sideboard combo.
Okay, here's a question for you Magic historians. When was the last time that there were archetypes doing well in Standard that so closely matched the archetypes in that draft format?
Devotion decks.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
Grey Merchant was unbeatable and limited if somebody had the 3 Grey Merchant deck.
Devotion makes sense. I guess there was, because by the time Standard got into 4-color pile, like Dark Jeskai and Mardu Blue or whatever, that's the same thing. Dark Jeskai and Mardu Green, we were already into a different format, not just the 4-color piles of cons.
But yeah, the green-white deck seems like it should have an okay green red-white matchup, right?
I think so.
You just need to not die early.
Are you bringing in Ferox versus that deck? How are you ever attacking through it?
Maybe. I'm definitely boarding out a Dontos Vanguard.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not paying 4 life to block.
You're gonna tell me how are you ever gonna attack through a hexproof 6/6?
Yeah, I think they probably bring in both Crawl Harpooners and 3 Knight of Autumn.
Yeah,
I don't know if they bring in Ferrex on the play, maybe, but on the draw, I don't think.
Well, you're probably bringing in Baffling End, the Harpooners, your Knight of Autumn.
You might not bring in Ferrex because you don't have enough to cut.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're probably bringing in those 8 cards, and you're probably cutting the 4 Vanguard, and then I don't know,
maybe Johnny's,
maybe 1 Loxodon.
Yeah, I mean, I could also see shaving 2 Marches. I don't know if you have time.
Yeah, it's a bit slow.
You might shave them all actually because you don't have time. You're going to be trading, like you're just trading your guys. When are you going to be marching?
That's true.
So
I might shave a Conclave Tribunal if you're bringing in Baffling Ends, just because it's more efficient.
Yeah,
like what is actually worth convoking out 4 mana for?
Yeah, but you definitely want Crawl Harpooner.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, Knight's good, End's good. I think Ferrex is fine. Like, can just upgrade your marches or maybe even migrations, a Johnny, to just a big 4 mana 6/6.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to board out migration against them though, just because it's the way you stay in the game early is like migration into Loxodon. Yeah. I think you probably need that to not lose. Yeah. Like that's your best start versus them. Mm-hmm. Especially because you kind of have to, like I don't know, you have to cut Vanguard, right? The card's just so bad in that matchup. Like you're not attacking.
You're not the beatdown in this.
Yeah, right? So you board them out. So you probably just bring in, Baffling Ends for sure, Crawl Harpooner. And then it's like, how much space can you make for Knight of Autumn? And do you suspect targets? Because they're going to have Tribunal, I guess. So it's already...
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have Tribunal, they're going to have History, and they could have
I'm not
Frenzy.
sure if they bring in Frenzy. But, I mean, I'll still bring in Knight of Autumn regardless, so it's fine. But, yeah, I mean, I could see this having a fine matchup. The Nullhide Ferrex is probably just for control decks, like fake news decks. It's just there for... to get you. Mm-hmm. Because those decks are what green-white loses to. They can't beat an Eco Bolus ever. Green-white decks, they just can't. They just don't beat that card.
Mm-hmm. Flyers in general are super rough because you only have 4 removal spells in your whole list.
Flyers and card advantage. Like, you know, they take a card from you and it's a 4/4 flyer. Like, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
So, I do like a Johnny. I'm surprised that Johnny doesn't see more play. Yeah, card's really good.
It's seeing a decent amount. It was in the sideboard of like every red white dead in the top 8.
But it's growing in popularity, yeah. I'm still surprised it's taking this long though. I wouldn't be surprised if you just see that card in main decks more now.
Yeah.
Considering these matches are just about stats.
Mm-hmm. So out of the 10-0 decks, we had Mono Blue and Is It. So no one, people still aren't respecting this Mono Blue deck, eh?
10-0 Pro Tour performance.
10-0 Pro Tour performance. Second place at the GP a couple weeks ago.
I mean, I said, didn't we all, that it would put a copy in top 8?
Yeah, you remembered it, and we all agreed with you.
Yeah. I mean, this guy won 5 to limited. If he doesn't if he 2-4s, he's in.
Yeah, there was someone who got in at X4.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, he's a 10-0 standard record. He probably had good breakers. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I guess he lost early limited rounds. So that's a beating. But yeah, I mean, this guy 10-0 at standard with Mono Blue. No, this deck's obnoxious. Merfolk Trickster is an insane card. It's actually so good. Stops so many problems. Like, it stops people from gaining life in green-black. You know, like taps down blockers. Like, it just does so much.
It removes the abilities on the wild guy.
So they can't
It doesn't get bigger either.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's nuts.
Yeah. So it can stop like a wild growth blocker from getting bigger. Or like,
yeah, I mean, you just know that with Golgari being such a huge part of this metagame, he was just dunking on green-black decks all day.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
4 dive down main. Like, just, yeah.
Well, and control decks, like control really struggles with this as well.
Yeah,
because of the dive downs, because of they just chart a course into counter spells post board. Like,
yeah, and I would love to just watch this deck play against Boros, just like you were saying.
It's just ships passing in the night because neither deck can afford to block.
No,
neither deck wants to block or wants to be able to put themselves in a position where anyone will block them. Like, you just ignore what the other person's doing. I hope you can race. I think the blue deck's actually favored in the race.
Man,
unless they get heroic reinforcements, but even then, the blue deck's pretty fast, and a lot of it is because of Merfolk Trickster, right? You have a pumped history of Benalia. They just Merfolk Trickster one of them, prevented a bunch of damage. Now they have attacks on the way back. Merfolk Trickster is like really, really obnoxious as far as tempo goes. The fact that they just have Spell Pierces, Wizard's Retort, like they have cheap interaction.
If you Spell Pierce a Heroic Reinforcements, that's got to be nuts.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They just have really cheap interaction. Like,
yeah, and I mean,
if they get out ahead of you, obviously you lose for sure. Like if they get ahead of you, but I mean, you can even use Dive Down to block and trade. You might be better at trading.
And I mean, these Boros decks too don't have much in the way of removal. They play like a couple copies of Tribunal or maybe 4. So like having a Dive Down to get their one removal spell they draw a game is probably just
and they had to invest
lights out
a lot.
Yeah, they probably could invoke to cast it.
Right. And then you Dive Down them, and then now you can also block if they left up an attacker.
Yeah.
No, like post board as well. You have Surge Mares. How are they ever attacking through that card? It's an 0-5.
That card's a beating versus green black. Someone cast it against me the other day, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, it's already a bad matchup.
Leave me alone. I can never block it.
It can't be blocked by a green?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's rough.
It's an 0-5.
Yeah. No, I know. This deck is really well positioned.
Yeah.
Like, I think it has a lot of good matchups. It's really obnoxious how good it is.
Yeah, people just have too much pride. They don't want to sleeve up 20 islands. And a bunch of
exactly.
Dudes.
Also, you're never beating sleep.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I lost a game. I ended up winning the match with red white versus them because my draw was just nuts, and I was on the play game 1 and I got very ahead. And then game 3 again, they mauled and I got very ahead. I was actually very lucky to win. I shouldn't have won. But yeah, game 2 they slept me, and when I had a huge board, and I was like, oh,
guess I'll die.
I just lose now. Like I just can't come back from this. So
yeah, deck sweet.
How many more episodes do you think we'll be saying that people underestimate Mono Blue?
For the entire
rest of the format, yeah.
Yeah, it honestly could win the GP next weekend and no one will care, probably.
Yeah, people know, and it's like, yeah, I know the joke. Like, haha. That's basically what it feels like when people see Mono Blue. You know what I mean? They don't care.
Yeah.
People don't even care it got second at GP,
Yeah.
People didn't even react. They were just like, yeah.
They were just freaked out about the Drake's decks.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, people just don't take that deck seriously. It is goofy.
For sure.
But it
skills people.
10-0 to Pro Tour.
I want to build it now. I haven't actually played it yet.
Yeah, I've played it. But I don't know.
But yeah, the other 10-0 deck we saw was an Izzet Drake deck, but a little bit more controlling than most of the other decks. It trimmed a Crackling Drake for a Murmuring Mystic, which is new, 4 Lava Coils, and a Mirari Conjecture main deck.
I'm a fan of the Murmuring Mystic.
Big fan.
Big fan.
Yeah.
They have a lot of turns where, like, turn 3, they do whatever, they make some things. Those threats get answered, and then they have to spend, turn 4, turn 5. I guess in this case it'd be turn 5 because you cast a Mystic. But there's turns later in the game where you also just cast a bunch of spells, hoping you cobble something together. And if you're getting birds along the way, then, like, you're not necessarily potentially wasting time.
Yeah, no, Murmuring Mystic's an insane threat. An actually just insane threat. It's terrifying.
It's hard to kill, too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's why. It's like it demands an answer, but there aren't a lot of good answers to it in some matchups. Depends on the matchup, but yeah, if it sticks, you just get to sit there and do nothing and just play spells. And
remember that green-black sideboard that we were thinking about, the Reaver Ambush?
Oh, yeah.
Also gets Murmuring Mystic.
yeah. Reaver Ambush looking pretty good, actually.
Yeah, so there was a green-black deck playing Reaver Ambush, and we weren't sure why it was playing this over, like, Moment of Craving or something. But, yeah.
Turns out it just gets a lot more stuff.
Also hits Aurelia.
The fact it gets Aurelia is a big deal.
Yep.
Pretty good.
So,
but yeah, this Izzet deck is a lot more controlling, right? Like 4 Lava Coil main, which is used in the sideboard, 2 Beacon Bolts. The difference is no dispersal, no discovery dispersal.
Yeah.
And a few other differences. But yeah, I like the Mirari Conjecture. Actually, it's basically an auto enabler for a Phoenix if you top deck it and you're stuck in top deck mode.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be able to cast enough spells, even if you do have to wait 1 or 2, turns, and it lets you copy. So I think it's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this version 10-0'd. I like not playing Discovery Dispersal. I just have, as I've moved forward in every version of every deck I've played that plays that card, I've eventually cut it. It's just bad. Like, it's just not good. In my opinion.
It's only good if you have an Electromancer.
Yeah, even then, I don't even think it's good enough. Like, it just... There are corner cases where it's really sweet to, recoil something. But 2 mana, even 1 mana, just Surveil 2 draw is like, it's fine. But then that means you also had to have Electromancer. I don't know. Card's bad.
Every time my opponent cast it against me when I was playing against this deck and they didn't have an Electromancer, like, it almost feels like a victory. Like, you won the game that turn because they spent so much mana doing so little.
Yeah.
I was
as long as they don't have Electromancer.
Otherwise, they're pondering, which is pretty good. But they're not ponder. They're preordain.
Yeah.
Or better than preordain.
True.
Yeah, puts Phoenixes in the graveyard.
Yeah. But, past this deck, we saw a couple other versions of Drakes, like Team Face to Face brought Jeskai Drakes.
Yeah.
So this we actually mentioned before. I think Adam mentioned it. There was a Jeskai version.
Yeah, this is a known thing. There's been quite a few 5.0 lists actually, and different people talking about this deck just because it solves some of the Drake weaknesses.
Yeah, the
Which
deafening
is small dudes beating you down.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Clarion pretty good in this deck.
Yeah, it's just Drakes with Clarion.
Yep.
Lets you,
Doesn't kill your Drakes. Lets you gain 1 million life if you have a Drake.
Yeah, exactly.
Also kills your opponent's dudes.
Yeah, it seems good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a big fan of it when I first saw it, and some of the mana bases are pretty ugly, but that's fixable. And also, this is an argument, I guess, for playing Discovery Dispersal. Lets you find your Deafening Clarions and everything that are really impactful in some matchups and get rid of them in others. So I still think it's bad, but hey, that's what Chart of course is for.
Yeah.
So, but this deck's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I like this deck, and I think that you probably have to play this version of Drake's going forward, actually. If White Weenie's, winning Pro Tours and 6 of the top 8 decks, and now it's the most played deck on Moto, like on Magic Online, White Weenie's the most played deck. Why not play Jeskai Drakes instead of Izzet Drakes? Why not play Deafening Clarion? What's what I mean? What's the argument for not? There isn't. You know what I mean? There just isn't a good argument for not doing it. So, to me, like, this is just sort of the Drake's deck you should be playing is with Deafening Clarions. It seems free. Like, just, Although, alternatively, the more controlling version that guy played is probably better. You just have to be more controlling, I guess is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to what colors it is for sure, but it has to be more controlling, right?
Yeah.
So, because that other guy having lava coils and beacon bolts that's also good.
Mm-hmm.
Kill a Johnny's Pride Mates and everything, right? You can kill the things that matter and block 1/1s.
Yep. Agree. Moving on. So with Golgari being a huge part of the metagame, there's also various different versions of the deck. Out of kind of the 8-2 lists, we see, versions with Druid of the Cowl, Doom Whisperer, 4 Carnage Tyrant, and then there's also ones without Druid of the Cowl. Still playing Doom Whisperer, 1 Carnage Tyrant, bunch of Vraska's Contempts. It's kind of like the same kind of thing we've been seeing the whole format. Up to 4 Wild Growth Walkers again in the main, which is definitely good. The other version, though, the Druid version, not playing any Wild Growth Walkers main deck. Just kind of got to fit it in somewhere,
just 3,
right?
Yeah, 3 in the board.
Mm-hmm. But I think going into this weekend, you want 4 Wild Growth Walkers in your main deck.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would say it's a safe bet against the White Weenie deck that can't kill it.
Yeah.
Yep.
They can't kill it.
Nope.
So this version you have pulled up, like Matt Nass's version, I would have preferred this version, a week ago. If I was saying, if someone asked me, I'm taking green black to the Pro Tour, what should I bring? I would have said, a 4 Contempt version because I would, expected more mirrors and control. But I agree with you now. For White Weenie, you just go lower.
Yep.
Put blockers in the way.
So I like 3 cast down main too.
Mm-hmm.
You got to kill those gobos, but also just kills a lot of annoying cards for you. So
Man, Druid of the Cowl is a 1/3 against some 2/1s before they fly. It's pretty good.
yeah, well, there's not Druid in Matt Nass's list, but
Yeah, but I'm like,
yeah, I think like 4 Wild Growth Walker has got to be just like the play going forward, though, right? Because the White Weenie deck doesn't play like against the red decks. It's like not even good because they just have 8 main deck ways to kill it, right? With the turn you play it and you lose. But against a White Weenie deck, they can't do anything.
they just have to hope to Conclave Tribunal it later,
Right. But that's
which means they're not casting Lockstone, which means they're not.
right. There's just a whole bunch of issues with that. So, yeah. I think playing a bunch of Wild Growth Walkers, which people had moved away from almost uniformly, is.
Yeah. Yeah, most of them have just been relegated to the sideboard. We've seen a lot of decks with like 1 or 2 copies main, but I think now, after how the format has shifted, you probably just want 4
Yeah.
main deck.
Yeah, and that could change later. But for now, yeah, if I were playing Green Black this weekend, I'd just go with 4.
Yeah.
And I'd go with possibly 12 Explore guys, actually. So I always have it and multiple on turns. Like if I have Llanowar Elf on 1, I can just, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Not using the mana on 2, play a Branch Walker, and then maybe play, play Wild Growth Walker, and then on turn 3, I have 4 mana, so I can double Explore a guy, right?
Yeah.
Like I would consider playing all 4 Seeker Squire if I'm playing 4 Branch or Wild Growth Walker main. Just because, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. All of these decks
I just want to make sure they're huge.
aren't playing Midnight Reaper. Moved away from that card. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
That doesn't surprise me in a world where everyone's like Sky March aspiranting.
Yeah.
You can't really spend 3 mana to chump with a 3 or trade with a 3/2, you know? Like,
Yeah.
That's not like Midnight Reaper's good in the mirrors.
Yeah. Out of all the 8/2 decks, only one of them was playing Midnight Reaper.
Yeah. It's really good in the mirrors.
Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it's just,
I just don't think you can justify having a block against White Weenie with that thing, you know?
yeah. It's not very good versus red. Not very good versus White Weenie. Pretty good against Jeskai, but yeah.
Seems, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that makes sense to me that people sort of realized like, we can't risk it. Even if it is really good in the mirror, it's not the defining feature of the mirror, right? We already talked about, okay, well, here are the cards that matter in the mirror.
Yeah. I think like it's just 2 flex slots that could be in the sideboard. Doesn't have to be in the main, but
Yeah. Like this person's playing Ritual Soot,
yeah.
which I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I still wonder if they could just be Moment of Cravings in
Yeah,
the sideboard.
I don't know. They probably could be. It's probably one of those things that's
Not a big deal.
not a big deal. Fine in some games.
Medium.
They're each fine in some games. They each are bad in some games. So
Yeah. This person isn't playing Wild Growth Walker in the main, so
Yeah, just 3 in the board. This guy's playing Druid of the Cowl, though.
yeah. I don't know. It's fine. Definitely like this list a lot less than Matt Nass's.
yeah, this one's weird playing the Druid. Some Druids and only some Carnage Tyrants and
Yeah,
It's just
only
like,
3 Contempts. It kind of feels all over the place.
Yeah, talking
This is
about
definitely-
Edward Vance's deck.
Yeah, this is just green black cards I own.
Tried and true strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, though, that a lot of them are back on Doom Whisper, which is a card that kind of fell out of favor.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good in the mirror if it lives.
It's fine.
Well, I think it's beyond fine, actually. It attacks Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Like, it manages Planeswalkers and trades with Carnage Tyrant. Like, it's actually very good. It might be better than Carnage Tyrant in the mirrors. But it's definitely worse in a lot of matchups. But in the mirror, it's probably better than Carnage Tyrant. It's cheaper. You know.
I don't know. Maybe. Carnage Tyrant not being able to get Chupacabra or killed by any of the Planeswalkers is pretty big, though.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can just find Finale. You know what I mean? Like, eventually you grind it back, and they can't block on the ground. The problem in the mirrors with the Carnage Tyrant is, like, it's on D. You know? Because, like, you can't really just attack, and then they just double block it with Branch Walkers, and that's your Carnage Tyrant.
It probably just comes down to how you're approaching the matchup, right? If your approach is to keep them off Planeswalkers, then Doom Whisper is obviously nuts. If your approach is to just protect your Planeswalkers
Carnage
and let them do
better.
it, then Carnage
Yeah.
Tyrant's better. Let them do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Matt Nass is kind of just off Planeswalkers entirely with only 2 Vivian Reed in the entire 75.
Yeah, but he has answers to them, right? So
yeah, he's on the keep them off Planeswalkers plan.
Yeah, and then protect my life total because he's got the Wild Growth Walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I mean, that's reasonable. You can still win the mirror that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's like harder. He's definitely not as well positioned in the mirror. There's no way. But he's definitely better positioned versus the field. Right? This is better Drake's matchup because Wild Growth Walker actually matters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot.
Yeah.
He has 3 cast downs, 4 contempt. So he's better versus White Weenie. He's better versus red. He's better versus everything except for the mirror. But that's still winnable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you get percentage points in the mirror for having different configurations and more Planeswalkers and whatever, but you don't auto-win.
Yeah.
The mirror is still a grind and, like, comes down to a lot of different factors.
Yeah. Also, not playing any Golgari Finebroker. That's interesting as well.
That is actually shocking. You'd think there'd be 1.
Yeah, 0. That's really interesting.
3 Memorial to Folly, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 Contempt. Yeah, can win the mirror just on that. A lot of people only play 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
You win the mirror on that, so Doom Whisper's got to help too.
It's one big boy.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, but kind of past that, yeah, Standard's pretty diverse. Can do pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, all the decks we talked about have ways, if you look for them or if you want, to beat any of the other decks we talked about.
Yeah, given changes, Other than I don't think Drake's will ever have a good red matchup.
Yeah, the Clarions help.
Yeah, the Jeskai Drakes, yeah. The Clarion,
Blue-red Drakes, will never have a good
I don't think
matchup.
it can.
Yeah, it just...
It can have a little better, That guy's got 10-0 list. If, you go to MTG Goldfish and look at the performing lists for people listening,
mm-hmm.
The 10-0 list probably is a good start for Drakes to have a chance.
Yeah.
Just a heap of removal. 10 removal spells main, right?
Yeah.
It's way more than... Right, 2 Beacon Bolt, 4 Shock, 4 Lava Coil. Was there anything else? I think that was it, right?
I think that was it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's a lot.
It is.
That's way better than, Warlords Furying and
right, exactly.
opting and getting hit.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that's where I would start this weekend if I were going to Milwaukee, if I were playing Drakes, is either I would play the Jeskai version, which I think is quite good, probably actually really well positioned this weekend, just as definite Clarion.
Yeah.
Everyone is just going to be playing White Weenie, right?
There'll be a lot.
I don't think it's actually the best choice, but everyone will be playing it, right? I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Deck costs nothing to build, too.
Yeah,
apart from histories, apart from histories, the deck's free.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we're kind of out of that unknown, anything could do well at any point stage of Standard, and into the part where we start being all right, this weekend there's going to be a lot of White Weenies, so a deck with hate for that will win, and then the next weekend there'll be a lot of that, and so we're into this stage of Standard.
Or alternatively, the deck that wins this weekend is the deck that beats up on the deck that beats up on White Weenie. It just needs to make it to day 2.
Yeah.
That deck that makes it to day 2 wins.
Yeah.
Right?
Who knows what it is, though? There's a bunch of options there.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I wouldn't play Drakes this weekend at all, actually, though. I'm not, even with Clarions, I'm just not taking that risk. You know what I mean? That you just don't draw Clarion, you just die.
Yeah.
I'm just not I'm not playing a deck that is soft. I'd probably just play Matt Nass's list, something like that.
If I was playing in the GP this weekend, I'd play green-black.
I would just play 4 Wild Growth Walker green-black.
Yep.
Knowing that I can build a sideboard and outplay people, you know what I mean? And play fine in the mirror, that I'll figure it out. And just play a heap of creatures.
Let's play dudes.
More stats.
Speaking of playing this weekend, we've got a Standard Open qualifier at the Wizards Tower here in Ottawa. Great sponsor of this podcast, wizardtower.com. Check them out for all your Magic single needs. Right at the end, we're plugging the sponsor.
But, free shipping in Canada.
Yeah. Great sponsor of this podcast. Great store, great events. Love them. Happy to have them as a sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah. And you guys got anything else? We wrap this thing up.
What would you play this weekend? You have no idea. You were out of town all
weekend.
You're useless.
I've been out of Magic for a week.
You're useless.
Yeah. Just happy to be here.
just hanging out. Would I play green black? It feels so safe.
I'd play mono blue tempo.
Just get over it. Just play mono blue.
I just want to
just get to see. It's not the fact that it went 10-0 at the Pro Tour, and we're not like everyone. If you don't show up at the GP with like mono blue, you're a donkey. Like you know what I mean? Like the fact that we didn't even come up just proves our point. That, like people just don't take that deck seriously.
Yeah, that's what I'd play.
I don't have enough reps to justify playing it though.
Well, no one's gonna bring it, so I'll just play green black. I'm not afraid of it.
But I don't think you need that many reps to have more reps in any matchup than your opponent.
That's true too. But yeah, green black wild growth walker seems like a good position to be in. Trying to think if there's anything like wacky I'd play. You know what I mean? Like I think if something is really well positioned that
once you figure out the rainbow lich sideboard.
It's
not salvageable.
Its sideboard is its main deck. You don't sideboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, right.
Well, you do. Versus control, you bring in all the Carnage Tyrants and Thieves.
Okay.
But it's still trash.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. If you want to get in contact with us, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at DWC Podcast 1 or the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast. And if you want to support the show, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/DWC Podcast. Got a bunch of sweet little benefits for anyone who's a patron. Any kind of donation gets you into the DWC Discord where, it's talk about decks, coverage,
talk about decks, tournaments, stories.
Anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
I feel bad because I was going to hang out on it all weekend. Like that was my plan. I was like, I'm just going to watch the Pro Tour. But then I ended up watching the PT replays at night because I forgot I actually had a ton of things on the weekend.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's past that, DWC tokens, custom tokens are almost ready, and those benefits will be rolling out soon. Also, a sweet benefit for patrons is that we record our pre-show chat every single week and upload that for patrons only. This week was over an hour of us just talking. So a lot of cool extra content there if you want to join the Patreon. And however you listen to this podcast, whether it's Podbean, iTunes, any podcast app, leave a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps this thing keep growing and bring it to new listeners. Thanks all for listening. We'll catch you next week.
See you later.